studies actually told me that out of the 15 people who have gone through this particular study, at least I believe the number was 12 or 13 out of them are in remission. And I think that's super exciting because it really tells us the power that psychedelics can have for depression. Hey lovely, welcome back to another installation of the Trippy Drip Creative. It's your girl, Diamond Drip. Today, we're gonna get into my clinical trial experience. We're gonna be talking about how I found it, how I qualified for it, and just the general experience itself. Now, for those of you that follow the written blog that eventually turned into this video blog, yes, you will know that I already made a video about my clinical trial experience, but as I become more comfortable with Premiere Pro and all of the things that go into that, I wanted to really get a redo, honestly, on some of the editing from my first video. I originally went looking for a program that would certify me in integrative medicine on maps.org so that I could be able to hold space for other people who wanted to take mushrooms. This was my intention when I originally went on the search and found a program that was a little more expensive than what I was looking to pay at the time, so I instead started looking for clinical trials. I was able to find a trial that was in progress that I could still get in on for bipolar II. So I found the information so that I could contact Sam, who is the person who's in charge of the study at Sheppard Pratt. And about 3 weeks later, I get an email from Sam saying that he wants more information, just like demographics, how old am I, if I actually have bipolar II, just making sure all the basic information to qualify for the study is correct. And that meeting was about 45 minutes. After that, we scheduled our next meeting with one of the doctors who gave me my first scale. After meeting with both Sam and the doctor who gave me my initial scale, I was told that any mind-altering substances would have to be cut from my diet or my regimen or whatever you want to call it. So I ended up having to cut out medical marijuana, which I have a card for. I would say I reached out to Sam in April. I started getting qualified in May, and towards the end of May is when I realized that I had to stop smoking. So I would say from May, June, and July, all of those months were qualifying months because I was talking to the doctors, getting comfortable with them, getting familiar with them. I had to go in a couple of times, once to do some blood work and a drug test, just to make sure that I didn't have like diabetes or any heart conditions or anything, and also to make sure that I was actually cutting out the drugs that I said that I was cutting out. So the 3-month qualifying period all leads up to the big 3. And so in the trial experience, the big 3 is the day before your dosing, the day of your dosing, and then the day after. And all of those are in person for anyone who thinks that they might be able to do that virtually. They're all in person. The day before, they give you some final scales just so that they can have a baseline for where you are with your depression and your suicidal thoughts before your actual dosing. They also administer another drug test just to make sure that all of the drugs that you said that you weren't taking, you're still not taking. So they do the drug test, and then you have another meeting with your therapist so that you can really hone in on your intention for the next day. In addition to all of the trial stuff that they have to do with the scales and the drug tests and the questions and everything, they also prepare you for the dosing day. So because set and setting are very important when it comes to a psychedelic experience, they want you to be as comfortable as you can with the space. So they take you into the room and they let you try on the shades, they play one of the songs in the headphones for you, and just help you get acclimated to the space. The day of, I got there early because I was told to. So I got there at 7:45, and that was just so they could walk me down to the room so I could get reacclimated with the space. Around 8:15, the dosing doctor came in so that he could give me the capsules. They give you about 5 capsules of the synthesized psilocybin that they created in the lab for the experience. Now, in terms of withdrawal from the study, up until 8:15, I could have walked away and I could have said, no thank you, this all sounds like too much and I'm not interested, and it would have been fine. But at 8:15, once they gave me the capsules, I was stuck there for 8 hours, which I knew in advance, but I'm just letting anyone know that once they give you the capsules, you are there for 8 hours, regardless. Somewhere around the 45-minute mark for me, I started to feel the psilocybin kicking in while I had the headphones and everything on, and thus began my magic mushroom experience. I ended up coming out of the trance, is what we're gonna call it, around 2:30, and I wasn't allowed to actually leave there until about 4 or something. We had to do more scales. So scales are questionnaires, if I hadn't said that already, and they ask a lot of questionnaires because this is all in the name of science. So the scale that they give you after your dosing, they ask you about things like, did you experience your own death? Did you feel fear? Did you feel like you were connected to the universe in some profound way? And there are a lot of questions. After you go through your final scale for that day, because the scales don't stop after that day, after you go through your final scale for that day, your therapist my therapist told me to journal about my experience, because it would really help in the months coming when I start unpacking all of the things that happened. So around 7 o'clock that night, when I got home and had a quiet moment, I wrote everything down that I experienced that I could remember. I had to come back a couple of times so that I could write a couple more things, because everything that you think that you remember in the moment is not everything that happened in the experience. So having that opportunity to be able to come back and journal and add things to it is very good, especially when you're unpacking it later on. And then of course is the day after. The day after, I had to go back up so that I could meet with my therapist in person so that we could begin unpacking some of the things that I got out of my experience. I also did a few more scales because, as I said, they don't end, and that was really it for the second day. With my trial at Sheppard Pratt, they do the dosing day and then they meet with you every week for 3 weeks, and then it switches to every 3 weeks after that. The meeting every week and then every 3 weeks until the end of the trial is about a 12-week process. I ended up opting for the voluntary 1-year follow-up option, which will help look at some of the insights beyond the first 12 weeks after the study. I'm really excited at what the science of psychedelics is going to teach us about how it can help depressive symptoms, how it can further help people with PTSD, how it can even help people who have addiction issues and they're looking to recover. So I'm really excited about my participation in the trial, what the results will come out of the trial, and eventually the book that's going to be written by the doctor who's doing the follow-up study with me to really highlight for the world what magic mushrooms can do. Thank you guys for your time and attention.